Hello, hello. We are back at it again. If there's an echo, it's because I'm in my kitchen doing this. I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit on my end. Hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. Let me know if you can A, hear me, and B, if the music is too loud. Different chat, but I hope I'm not as bad as Charles Manson. That'd be bad. Okay, let me swap over. Super loud music. Okay, hold on. I will turn that down. It's fading out now, but I have turned the music down. Oh, turn it down a little bit more. Is that better? Let me know. And yay! I have two chats going on. I've got Discord on my phone, and then I've got I'm watching the fish doorbell. I don't know what that means. Sounds good now? Okay, good. Good. I rushed to get here. Crying about olive oil? Evan, what's going on with you? A fish doorbell and olive oil? My day was good. It was kind of busy. I spent a good chunk of it hanging up curtain rods and curtains and art in my house with my parents. And then I went out to eat and drink with them at a place called Twin Peaks, which I was thinking, oh, it's based off of the show. It's not based off of the show. It's basically like a different themed Hooters. But, you know, whatever. Yes, we love Creature. We love Creature and support him in this house. But yeah, I had to like ditch them. I was like, I need to go in like the next 30 minutes. And then I was like, where's my check? Where's my check? Why is the check not getting here? And then at one point I was told that my dad had paid for or was going to pay for me. And then he was like, no, get your own check. And I was like, all right, that's fine. It's just taking 50 years to get my check. They did have good food, yes. I had some like brisket street tacos. They were fabulous. I am drinking. I hope that you guys are ready to chill. I don't know if I want to write. I haven't written in a long time, it feels like. I haven't written since I wrote this scene, basically, and like a paragraph for this one, which is the one where Harry is pregnant and then ditches Tom. So, you know. I love cilantro. It doesn't taste like soap to me. I don't have that genetic flaw, as I would like to call it. Oh no! We've got some soap cilantro tasters. Yeah, ghost. That's yeah, in this one. In this little story. That's the little sneak peek I put on Tumblr, and then you were like, oh, I remember. You were excited about this one, Kiki. I'm pretty sure. Those that tasted are the correct ones. Well, considering I'm the outlier currently, I suppose that is accurate. That is true. Okay. Yeah, this is it's the that yeah. I see the excitement, Kiki. No, Harry's not pregnant in dmay. No. No. We're not going down that path with the dmay. Science backs you. Biting is a form of affection. Go night-night, Evan. I hope you get good dreams and you don't have weird dreams like I did, which I told you about. That dream was whack. It's a wish baby, Kiki. I've been thinking that that might be what I do with this one, is turn it into a wish baby. I was thinking ABO, and then I was like, I don't want to do your standard stuff that I usually do for it, but yeah. So this is a little thing that I just keep thinking about, but I never actually write. Okay. I have to actually try and write, don't I? The horrors, the terror. I don't wanna. I hope you dream of Trucker Miguel, Evan. Miguelito. I wish you the best of the dreamies. And those of you who are up late, I love you. You're super sweet for hanging out with me this late. And those of you who are not, awesome. Still love you anyway. It's about 8 p.m. for me. Started about, like, I don't know, 5 minutes ago officially. So try to go for like an hour. I'm not sick this time, so that's good. Yeah, we'll go for it. We'll have a good time, maybe, hopefully. Miguelito. The delay on the chat once again, always killing us. I don't want to open that right now because it'll probably mess me up, so I'm not going to. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna procrastinate and not do anything during this stream. I swear to God, I'm gonna write something. I guess rereading would help just a little bit. I'm not gonna reread the last chapter because I literally just reread that to myself, but I will reread the interlude sort of out loud real quick. Just to kind of get us all refreshed about what's going on. No, I love you all equally. You're my little babies. I give you all forehead smoochies with tongue. Every parent has a favorite child. Sucks to be you. Oh, goodness. Careful, I might be tipsy enough to start snort laughing if you get me giggling enough, and that's not a pretty sound, so let's not do that. With tongue. All right. So I'm gonna reread the interlude, and then hopefully, I'm just gonna aim for like, let's say like 200 words. Yes. Let's try for that. Because it'll be more than I've written in, I don't know, a month. Ooh, Ash is bragging. Did I text my mommy? I did. Okay, good. I let her know I got home safe. Ash even gave me little buttons. We had brunch. It was delicious. Okay. All right. Focus. It's been so long since I've written. I feel so weird. Also, happy St. Patty's Day to anybody who is celebrating. I'm all dressed up in green because that's what we were out doing. Got my green eyeshadow and everything. It's super fun. Okay. The scent of fresh coffee, tea, and breakfast has become something of a staple at Grimald Place in the mornings. Sirius isn't certain exactly what made Creature turn the other proverbial cheek in the years he had been gone with Harry, but as much as he pretended to grouse and gripe, he wasn't actually complaining. What had once been shabby, dusty, tattered reminders of a house he ran away from before his majority had been transformed under the time, effort, and care of his family's stubborn house elf, Ramus, and whoever might linger at the Order's not-so-secret anymore place of operations. He'd heard stories of Molly throwing a fit the first time she'd tried to make dinner for them all, and Creature had chased her out of the kitchens. He'd also seen Hermione Granger's attempts to get Creature to find his own independence upon hhis return, and had had to stifle his laughter when the little thing chased her off, too. "Won't be tricked out of my house," the little old thing had grumbled each time. Sirius found he was sort of fine with that, and made living in the old place far more palatable. Having access once more to the Black family gold had also gone a long way into livening the place. Fresh paint and wallpaper, updated furnishings to bring the dreary rooms into the modern era. There had even been something of a small purge, though when Creature had begun to throw a fit at the thought of losing all of his old master and mistress's things, it was Ramus... Sorry, there was an extra space there. It was Ramus that had cleverly asked him to store them someplace for safekeeping in the attic. Out of sight, out of mind, Sirius supposed. It was at breakfast, during his and Creature's usual morning routine, that Severus Snape came pounding on their door, or rather, burst through their flue. Sorry, I was just checking in on the chat. I see we're talking about colorful hair. I'm very jealous. The only colorful I've ever done was an accidental magenta, and then that one time that my hairstylist turned me into Ariel the Little Mermaid when I asked her to go a little more red on my strawberry blonde, and it turned into a lot more red. So, yeah, mine's just natural. It has been for a very long time. I'm a dirty blonde, and I like to keep it that way. Even though sometimes I'm like, I want rainbow hair. I just don't like the upkeep, and I'm too cheap to do it, so. But I'm very jealous of your guys' colorful hair. Okay. Would either of you dunderheads care to explain why Harry Potter was at a notorious vampire coven this new moon? He snarls, slapping the paper down onto the table between the plates of crumpets and freshly cooked sausage. Yeah, accidental magenta. It was supposed to be a temporary purple dye, and then it turned my hair bright magenta / pink for about 6 months. So... Also, welcome. Welcome to all of you, and to any lurkers, welcome as well. Oh, that's fair, Kiki. I've always been kind of a... When I was really little, I was tow-headed, so I was like bleach blonde all on my own. And I think that's probably why the purple lasted so long. It's just because I'm blonde, and so it just clung to my hair for so long. Sorry, focusing. I'm focusing. The paper is French, but Sirius thinks he can guess the headline. The picture on the front page says enough. Harry looking back at the press, blood on his face, on his hands, on his clothes, and Lord Gaunt stepping in closer to quickly shield him with a long, dark cloak. Oh dear. Ramus mutters, hair sticking up in that funny way Sirius likes so much, usually because it's from a good night's rest or Sirius's own fingers, and he slides the paper to him across the table. Paddy? Sirius is already grunting and withdrawing his wand. I'd kill you to ring first, Snape. What if we'd been naked? It might have blinded me, but I'm certain I would have survived such a horror. Snape replies, and he watches, mouth thinning, as Sirius summons his Patronus. Find the lad. Tell him I want word back that you're in one piece, or I might have to hunt you down. Sirius tells it, glances Snape's way, and then adds, with a dungeon bat on my heels at that. Thanks, that's loud. Hold on, I turned down. Okay, and then I have Sirius's, so I know that this is supposed to be Sirius's Patronus bounds off the moment he releases it. Tail wagging all the while. Sorry, checking in on the chat now that I've written a sentence. I've at least done something. Woohoo. So happy I got to attend the stream. Just finished D&D. Thought I'd missed it. Yay! I'm glad that you get to be here. I hope D&D went well. D&D is always fun. And I say that as somebody who has only played it like maybe 3 times in her whole life. I like watching it though. That's fun. Doggo. I love Sirius's like dog personality. Like somebody sent me a message yesterday, about the scene in. Hold on. It's in. Not here. It's before this. Hold the thought. Sorry. Getting distracted. The scene where Harry is like hiding under the covers because he's like having to confront his own sort of feelings in regards to Voldemort a little bit. Not like fully, because he hasn't done that yet. But it's the bit where he's under the covers and he's like, you know, guilty and shameful about enjoying what is considered courtship, essentially. And Sirius like gets under the blanket with him and is like talking to him. Yeah, right here. Somebody had sent me a message about this scene, and I was like, yes, it's because he's a dog. He's a loyal puppy. Mother, how can you stand light mode? I think it's in dark mode on my phone, which is the only place I read it. I don't read fan fiction on my computer. I only read it on my phone. And I use dark mode on my phone. I just don't do it on my laptop. So dark mode is better for the eyes and the soul. Yeah, I'm telling you, I do read it in dark mode. Just, you know, not on my computer. I don't like the way it stretches on my computer. I used to, like in college, I would like fill up half a screen with a YouTube video and half the screen with like a, you know, an archive story. And then I got a smartphone and I was like, why do that when I can just have it in my pocket at all times? So yeah. That's why it's in light mode. I'm not crazy. I mean, I'm a little crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Okay, I said 200 words. We're starting at 14. Awesome. Doing all the while. Is it phases? Is that the right phases? Phases and phases. We're gonna Google it. Hold that thought. I always forget what version it is. There's somebody at my front door. Who? It's those little kids again. Why are they at my front door? Are they still there? No, they're not. Sorry, I keep missing like these little kids at my front door. I don't know what they want. I'll just go, I know where they live, so I'll just go over to their house tomorrow morning and be like, I saw this on my ring cam. Okay. I was Googling. Phases or phases. I think I want this one, I think. They're actually that squirrel in human form. They're not. They are my neighbor's children, and they've been coming to my door for a hot minute. I think maybe some of my mail got accidentally delivered to their house. But it's fine. It is what it is. Okay, hold on. Sorry, still Googling. Phases through. This is very frustrating to me. You children, but also pregnant Harry, woohoo! Goodness gracious. I hate homophones sometimes. Aspect or part, pointer, stage, period, physical, distinct, mechanical separation portion of it. Yep, okay, cool. It's the pH. Whew! I taught English classes. No. Don't disconnect. Come on. It's phase toast, like phasing through a wall. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I hope OBS didn't disconnect. Okay, cool. Getting as bad as Jenny today, Kiki. With the typos. As soon as phases through the wall, the learning space is peering into the... Can't edit here. No, that's fair. My fingies get messed up too sometimes. Like, for instance, I have caught myself doing Voldemort. Hold on. Voldemort. Oh, is that the children again? Hold on. I think I hear them at the door. Sorry, guys. Oh, okay. No. It's getting a little freakishly annoying. Oh yeah, the double O door. Hold on. No, okay. I'm just crazy. Woo! Ow. My drink just jumped into my eyeball. And it burns. It burns a lot. Oh, that really, really hurt. That's how you get like an eye infection. Oh. Ugh, goodness. That's the best way to drink, is to just pour it into your eyeballs. Not when it's like moderately fizzy and fruity. Ow, that burns. Okay. Or rather, he tends to. Ah, why do I keep misspelling unwelcome? My fingies are all over the place. Mm-hmm. Unwelcome. Sure. Snape wouldn't plop. He's not a plopper. How quickly can a Patronus get to and from a person? Thinking. Do. I do love Service Top Ramus. He's a good boy. Okay, let's see. Unless you prefer that. I hope you can't hear the children outside because I can hear the children outside. I think they're having a good time. No. Oh, like you want me to turn the music off? Or at least down? Oh wait, you were saying that you can only hear the typing. Okay, never mind. I can read. Or is it like it looks like a request to me. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But I'm assuming you meant I can only hear your typing, which is that's chill. I'm fine with that. Ash, Kiki's bullying you again. Oh, okay. It's not bullying if you admit it's true. They might need to have. Might need to talk serious things in funny ways. You're supposed to be the one that's helping, not telling me about it. No, I am not Umbridge. You can lie. I tell little white lies all the time. You are mom, not me. I never technically agreed to be mother. I am just not fighting it. That's all. You named me mother. You in the Discord have chosen me as mother rank. That is not something that I chose for myself. Ah, the tuna is checking in for snack. Had tacos. ¿Y tú? You did when you didn't fight it? Alright, alright. Don't fight it, shh, mother, shh. By the way, if at any point you're like, why does she read all like most of our chats out loud? It's because it doesn't, at least to me, I don't ever see it show up on YouTube. So like I just try to make sure that people know that I'm not talking to myself. Mother is the name of our cult leader. You are leader. You are mother. I'm gonna get put on a list. Oh my god. Give me 1 second. Okay. Well, it wouldn't be the FBI, but we're not going to get into that. I can see the chat, but enjoy you reading it out anyway. Aw, thanks. Don't listen to her, everyone. She's talking to herself. It's the voices in her head. I could go with that, like Technoblade did when he just decided that the chat was just the voices in his head. That was a fun time. That was a good little narrative twist that he added to his own story. Anyway, point is, I could do that, but I would prefer that people don't think I'm an insane lunatic, because most people think I'm pretty crazy already. Who is this mother entity they speak of? Who is mother? Now it's like getting into like SCP era, like it's like some sort of like creepy creature that we have concocted in our brains, or that I have concocted in my brain. Let's see. Okay. That's how you bring in the crowds, though. Crazy brings in more crazy. Is that what that says? Crazy brings crazy? Yeah, that's true. It's true. We all crazy. We're all crazy. We all go a little mad sometimes. Doesn't get a chance to, however, because he gets had to make partner home. Carry familiar deer comes into the kitchen before he gets... I'm repeating myself, and not in a good way. exactly. No, he's talking about Ramus getting territorial over him in public. But he certainly recognizes the behaviors because he's seen it applied to himself before. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm glad that it makes sense. Okay. Predictably concerning. Yes. So Harry equals predictably concerning. Absolutely, every single time. Jesus, I read too much. She's getting to the bottom of the page, and I almost tried to scroll and see more blank page. Ash single-handedly discrediting human evolution. Yeah, it happens. All right. I finished the scene. I finished the Wolf Bat Star scene. I'm very excited. Let's go through and make sure that it doesn't have too many egregious typos. Okay. Pounds off the moment he realizes that, tail wagging all the while. As soon as it phases through the wall between the kitchens and the living spaces, peering into the zero plane that allows their magic to travel so far and so quickly. Sirius turns his focus back upon their unwelcome intruder, or rather, he tends to be Snape's unwelcome wherever they may be. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm speed reading to myself to make sure it's not terrible. Remus, however, seems to have other ideas. Have a seat, Severus, he says, standing up to ran into table, pull out a chair for him. I'm sure it'll be a moment before we get word back. Would you like some tea? Eyes him for a moment, but takes the chair, sitting down stiffly, flicking his robes tighter around himself as he does with a little haughty sniff. That depends. Will it be as strong as the last tea you provided me with? This early? Surely not. Remus smiles, but it's the one he gives when he really can't be. When he gives when he can't really be trusted. That's fine. Unless you prefer that. They make small talk for a moment, as small talk involves subtle and not so subtle snipping and sniping, as tea and breakfast is served to Snape at their table. Sirius leans his chin on a hand, watching the two of them with a little frown, curious. It is familiar the way Remus hovers a bit, and Sirius cannot help but wonder just what his mate is up to. If what he thinks he's up to is what he is up to, Sirius thinks they might need to have a talk. He's half tempted to start asking right now, just to see if Remus is even conscious of it, or if he'll go all red the way he does when Sirius calls him out for getting territorial at the pub. He doesn't get a chance to, however, because before he gets his head to make his partner squirm, a very familiar deer comes trotting into the kitchen. It starts relaying Harry's message as soon as it has their attention. Sorry, is the first word out of its mouth, followed very quickly by something that is both terribly concerning and yet somehow incredibly predictable considering who Harry was with. Things went a bit sideways at the Solderini estate. He sort of killed Fenrir Greyback. Oh, good hair. Should be back in London soon. I love him. I love him so much. He's so stupid. Okay. And as if Harry hadn't just sent his Patronus to drop something of a bombshell in the middle of the black kitchen, the deer dissipates into vapor, leaving the three of them. I'm going to say stag. The stag dissipates into vapor, leaving the three of them to blink rather owlishly at one another. Oh, Remus says. Oh dear. This time it's Snape that scoots out a chair, using his foot to kick out the one nearest as Remus seems to go a bit wobbly. Have a seat, Lupin. It looks like we will be needing your special tea. Perfect. I love it. Woohoo. Okay. Going to the chat. Woohoo. Heck yeah. Imagine Harry walking in on those three. Haha. Yeah, no. Like all children are bound to do with their parents. Poor boy would be scarred. Hopefully Tom is amazing with memory spells. Hermione can probably help too. Yeah, that'll make him forget. I don't think he'd mind. I think he'd think it's, well, not cute, but certainly acceptable in a way. Yay! I almost did 500 words. That's the most I've written in so long. Woohoo! Proud of me. Patting my back. Patting my back. Sending smooches around the chat. Okay. What was the other thing I wanted to do? Oh, that's right. Hold on. Left, right, game. I don't know if I'll read this out loud. Hold on. Oh God, it's in light mode. How do I change this? No, go away. Of course, like as soon as I switched it back over, it shows my full name. Read horror! All right. So yes, this is a horror story. It's pretty good. I feel like I need to change the music though. Or just no music. I just take the music off. All right. So this is a story that I've been talking about in the Discord for a hot minute. I recently heard Windigoon and Papa Meat read out their version of this, but there's also a really good version of what is the word I'm looking for? Like professionally done one with like, acclaimed actors and actresses who do the voices. Tessa Thompson, for instance, plays Alice Sharma, who is the kind of main character of this story. This is a horror story. It's one of my favorites. She reads horror. Soft jazz plays in the back. Yeah, and then we all snap at the end. Let's see how long. Yeah, we can just do at least part of part one. So, a few points before we start. Firstly, I am not the protagonist of this story. I just went to university with her, and though she went on to become a professional writer, I most certainly did not. She'll be taking over from me further down, but until then, please forgive my slightly awkward delivery while I give you guys the necessary context. Secondly, I don't know what you will make of the following events, and I'm sure many of you might consider it all some sort of hoax. I wasn't present for any of what transpired in Phoenix, Arizona, but I can vouch for the person who wrote the following logs. She is not, and has never been, a fantasist. Okay, so I once knew a girl called Alice Sharma. She was an undergrad at Edinburgh? I always get that messed up because I know that the Scottish say it a certain way and it's not the way that Americans say it. But anyway, Edinburgh. That's how I read it. Uni the same time that I was. My educational poison was history, a degree which has greatly benefited my career as a bicycle repairman. Alice Sharma studied journalism, though perhaps studied isn't the word. It's not an exaggeration to say that she lived and breathed the subject. Editor-in-chief of the campus paper, recognizable voice of a student radio, she was frustratingly tunnel-visioned, and she was a journalist in her own right before anyone gave her a professional shot. We met in student halls and became friends almost immediately. A meandering waster trying to stay off his parents' farm and an intrepid, ambitious reporter may not seem the most obvious pairing, but I learned not to question it. She was inspiring and smart, and she proofread all my essays. I'm not too sure what she saw in me. We were eventually flatmates down in London, where she chased her dream and I chased my tail. She got a few jobs here and there, but nothing befitting of her skill. After months of fruitless internships and rejections, Alice called a flat meeting, telling us that she was moving to America, accepting a position chasing stories for National Public Radio. The job had come out of the blue, the result of a Hail Mary application she thought had been dismissed out of hand. We threw her a bittersweet going-away party and put the room up for rent. Marriage. That party was the last time I saw Alice Sharma. She dropped out of contact a few months after her departure. Complete radio silence. I assumed she was just busy, so I carried on with my small but happy life and waited for her to pop up on television with some important words below her name. Chief correspondent, senior analyst, something like that. The radio silence was broken last week, and for reasons you'll glean further down, I'm less happy about it than I would have thought. Arriving home from work, I found a lone email in my otherwise bare inbox, an email that would later be described as suspicious by my tech-literate friends. Despite being born in the early 1990s, I didn't own a computer until uni, and I've missed several important lessons in the world of cyberspace. Lessons like, don't call it cyberspace, of course, and more importantly, don't open emails with no text, no subject, and no sender's address. I realize most of you would have deleted this anonymous blank email immediately. My friends certainly would have. But beyond my basic ignorance about online safety, something further compelled me to open it. The only thing of substance in the entire message was a zipped folder labeled left.right.as. I don't have to explain what I was hoping what those final initials stood for. Opening the zipped folder, I found myself staring at a stack of text files, each one titled with a date, continuing sequentially from the very earliest file, 07/02/2017. To any Americans in the room, this is the 7th of February. I've since read the files a few times and shown them to some friends. They don't know what to make of it either, but they certainly aren't as concerned as me. They think Alice is just in a creative writing phase, and if I didn't know her, I'd have to agree. But the thing is, I do know her. Alice Sharma only cares about the truth. And if that's the case with these files, insane as it may sound, then it's very possible my friend has documented her own disappearance. The people who suggested this forum said you discuss strange occurrences, etc. If you guys have come across anything to do with the below or know of any of the people involved, then please send any information my way. Has anyone here heard of the left-right game? And that is the intro to one of my favorite horror stories of all time. So, hold on. Taking a little drink pause. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and mute real quick and take a little potty break. If you need a potty break, you can take it. We're going to keep going for like at least another 20 minutes or so. Okay, giving everybody a second. And then we're going to jump right in. All right, the left-right game, draft 1, 7th of February, 2017. They say great stories happen to those who can tell them. Robert J. Guthard is an exception to that rule. As I sit at his table, sip his coffee, and listen to him recount the past 65 years, it sounds like he's reading off a shopping list. Every event, his first job, his second wedding, his third divorce, none of them receive more than 1 or 2 sentences. Rob plows through the years, the curt, dispassionate curator of his own personal history. Yet the story itself is so fascinating, so rich with moments and so wildly meandering, that it somehow stands on its own merits. It's a great story, no matter how you tell it. By the time Rob was 21, he'd gotten married, had a son, worked as a farmer, a mover, a boat engineer, and grown estranged from his spouse. Here's him talking about that. Of course, my wife started to get dissatisfied. I was away a while. For work. Vietnam. You were in Vietnam? How's that for you? I ain't never been back since. That was everything he had to say concerning his first divorce and the entire Vietnam War. Rob had 4 marriages after that, and even more professions. After the war, he worked with a firm of private detectives, got shot at once by the mob, then he became a courier, which is how a poor boy from Alabama got to see the world. I've been to most of the continents with that job. I've been to India. You from India? My mom and dad are from India, yeah. See, I could tell. He'd been arrested once in Singapore after one of his packages had been found to be full of white powder. He spent 3 days locked up before someone got around to checking the substance. It was chalk. A friend he made during his brief custody, Hiroji Seto, invited Rob to stay with him in Japan. Just getting over the breakup of his 3rd marriage, Rob took the offer. He stayed in Japan for another 5 years. The Japanese are good people, good manners. But they got all these urban legends and ghost stories that Hiroji was crazy for. Spent all his free time chasing them down. Like, you heard of Jirogumo? I don't think so. Well, she's the spider lady, lives in the Juro Falls around Izu. Meant to be real pretty, but real dangerous. Hiroji took us out there to get a picture of her. Did you ever meet Jirogumo? Nah, she didn't show. None of them did. I didn't believe at all until we got to Akikohara. Akikohara, affectionately titled the Suicide Forest, the next stop on Rob's adventure. It's an area of woodland at the base of Mount Fuji, a notorious hotspot for young people looking to take their own lives. Hiroji, Rob's ghost-obsessed jailmate turned best friend, took him to Akikohara to chase Yurei, the ghosts of the forest. Did you find anything in Akikohara? Well, I ain't going to ask you to believe me, but I was a PI, professional cynic. Even I can't deny there was spirits in those woods. From that moment on, Rob's sentences start getting longer. A childlike excitement creeps into his voice. I get the distinct feeling we're moving beyond background, beyond Rob Guthard's old life and toward his new one, the one he wants to talk about. I love the hot spider lady. Hey, I love a hot spider lady too. The one he wants to talk about, the one that led him to contact the show. It walked up to me through the trees. Looked like static you see on a TV screen, but it had a human shape almost. Almost. It was missing an arm. It reached out to me, but I bolted out of the forest so fast. Hiroji never saw it. Holds it against me to this day. Hiroji had good reason to be annoyed. Rob says that Mr. Sato had been going to the forest 2 to 3 times per year for 3 decades. To have a rookie come along and claim to have seen a Yurei on his first trip, I'd be more than a little cranky. But Rob didn't stay a rookie for long. In fact, it was in those woods that he discovered his current passion. The supernatural, or more accurately, the documentation and investigation of urban legends. Legends like Bloody Mary, the Jersey Devil, Sasquatch. Rob has looked into them all. I figured if one of them was true, then who knows how many others could be. How many have you proven so far? Since Akikohara, ain't none of them have any proof to them, except for one. That's why I called you guys up. At this point, Rob can't hope to repress his smile. The left-right game appeared on a paranormal message board in June 2016. Only a few people frequently visited the forum, and, of these regulars, only Rob took an interest in the post. The whole thing had a level of detail you don't see in other stories. What details grabbed your interest? Logs, high-quality pictures. The guy documented everything. Said he wasn't going to play the game anymore. I think he wanted somebody to keep investigating. And you were that somebody. That's right. I set about trying to verify his information right away. And how did it go? Well, didn't take long to realize the left-right game is the real thing. The rules of the left-right game are simple. Get in your car and take a drive. Take a left, then the next possible road on the right, then the next possible left. Repeat the process ad infinitum until you wind up somewhere new. The rules are easy to understand, but Rob says they're not so easy to follow. There ain't all that many roads where you can turn left and right and keep going. Most of the time, you find yourself at a dead end or needing to turn in the wrong direction. Phoenix is built on a grid system, so you can keep going left and right as long as you need to. Did you move to Phoenix for the left-right game? That's right. I try not to seem incredulous. Selling your house in another state, packing up and moving your whole life to Phoenix, Arizona just to play a game you saw on the internet? It seems like insanity. Rob smiles as he reads my expression. I can clearly read his expression too. You'll see, it says, just wait. I wouldn't have to wait long. Included within the 9-page submission Rob sent our show was a long list of suggested items the chosen reporter should bring with them. Clothes for 3 days, a pocket knife, matches, bandages. There were also a set of qualifications the reporter should have: the ability to drive, basic vehicle maintenance and its human equivalent, first aid training. He didn't just want to talk about the left-right game. He wanted to take one of us along. I've always wanted to play the left-right game myself, so I'm right there with you. But he's right. Like, it's like when you think about it, like it's nearly impossible to actually follow the rules to the point where you could get anywhere, because you end up at a dead end, or you end up being unable to make a right turn or a left turn, etc. So yeah, I think it's super fun. Hold on, drink break. Okay. Rob leaves a short while later to embark on a few errands, prepping the run, as he calls it. He shows me to the guest room and we part ways, on good terms, but very much aware of the other's poorly veiled opinions. He knew I saw him as a charming obsessive chasing after a fairy tale. He saw me as a naive cynic on the cusp of a new world. All I could think as I heard the front door close is that by tomorrow afternoon, one of us would be right. More after this. When I wake up the next morning, Rob is in my room, holding a tray which he'd knocked on the bottom of to rouse me. Sorry. I don't manage to record the start of our conversation. I got bananas, strawberries, chocolate syrup. We got some more downstairs, but I wanted you to wake up to something good. We won't be eating this stuff on the road. Rob has made me waffles. He sets them down on the nightstand and talks through the coming days as I eat. I'll admit it feels a little uncomfortable waking up in a stranger's home to find said stranger already standing over me, but I quickly move past it. I tell myself that he's an older man, accustomed to living alone in his own house, not usually having to think about boundaries. Anyway, he certainly knows his way around a waffle iron. We hit the road at 9. I wanted to give you time to get ready before everyone shows up. There are the people coming. We got a 5-car envoy on the road today. They'll be here in an hour. This is the first I've heard of a convoy, and to be honest, I'm surprised. The game is Rob's obsession, and I'm here at his request. The idea that anyone else would have an interest in today's drive is a little perplexing. Half an hour later, sated, showered, and dressed in the functional clothing Rob had so painstakingly outlined, I take my pack out to the porch. Rob's already there, waiting for his associates to show up. I thought you'd be conducting a few more errands. If you ain't prepared by morning of, you ain't prepared. Okay, I guess that's fair. Oh, Rob, is the garage locked? The inside door won't budge and I want to mic up the car. Yeah, it's locked up. I'll open it for you. Thank you. In fact, it's about time I wheeled her out. Fair warning, Miss Sharma. She's a thing of beauty. To Rob Guthard, beauty took the form of a dark green Jeep Wrangler. Rob climbs in and lets it roll out of the garage, where it dominates every inch of the driveway. The car is large, 4 doors with a roof enclosing the entire compartment. It's also been modified extensively, yet another example of Rob's dedication to the game. What are you thinking? I think you're 2 caterpillar treads short of a driving tank. Yeah, I fixed her up good. I put the winch in, heavy-duty tires, the light rig on top is LEDs. They'll make midnight look like noon, but they don't use hardly any power. Aren't Jeeps open top usually? Not at all. This is the unlimited. I like to have a covered car when I head on the road. I climb in and stow my pack. Rob had removed the back seats to afford more storage space. The place is packed to the brim, jerry cans of gasoline, barrels of water, rope, snacks, and his own neatly packed set of clothes. I wonder if the rest of our convoy would take the game so seriously. We got Apollo coming in 10 minutes. No one else has given me a time. I sent the schedule weeks ago. This always happens. His name's Apollo. That's his call sign. Apollo Creed, I think he said. Why are you using call signs? Did I not tell you? Oh, yeah. We're going to use call signs on the road. Keep communication clear. What's your call sign? Ferryman. What's my call sign? I thought about it. I was thinking London. You're from London, right? I'm from Bristol. Bristol? That's fine, I guess. It's less than 10 minutes before Apollo turns the corner. Rob jumps out of his chair and paces briskly over to the edge of his property as his first guest pulls up and steps out onto the sidewalk. Apollo vaguely resembles his namesake, dark-skinned, tall, and noticeably well-built, though it's clear he couldn't be less of a fighter. This Apollo Creed is all smiles and seems to have a penchant for laughing at his own jokes. How far have you come? Oh, God, I can't do a Chicago accent. I've come out of Chicago. Took 3 days hard driving. And you know Rob from the forums? Everybody knows Rob. Rob's the god. He always has this little laugh at the end of his sentences. I'm not gonna go all crazy with it. Unlike Papa Meat, if you listen to his version, he totally laughs like a madman. It's great. Rob walks over to Apollo's car, gesturing him over to talk shop. Rob's clearly impressed with Apollo's choice of vehicle, a blue Range Rover packed to the ceiling with kit. I was more impressed with Rob himself. Somehow, this 65-year-old farmer's son had become respected in a vast online community. My dad is Rob's age, and he's just discovered copy and paste. The rest don't take long to arrive. Two Minnesotan librarians, also around Rob's age, pull up in a gray Ford Focus. They're brother and sister, and they've shared ghost hunting as a hobby their entire lives. I find it hard. Do it. No! I find it hard to suppress a smile when they meekly introduce themselves as Bonnie and Clyde. We would have gotten here sooner. We had to drop by and get some blankets. Pleasure to meet you, ma'am. Pleasure to meet you, too. Would you be the journalist? That's right. You used to write for the town paper, didn't you? He's talking to his sister. He's talking to his sister there. She nods. Clyde is clearly the spokesperson for the pair, yet they both seem incredibly shy. Whether they admire the famous outlaws or just the name, it's pretty clear they couldn't be more different from the real thing. Next to show up are Lilith and Eve, English Lit students at New York University and proprietors of the YouTube channel Paranormicon. Unlike Bonnie and Clyde, Lilith and Eve have no issue holding a conversation. As soon as they learn who I am and what I do for a living, they attempt to conscript me for an expedition to Roswell. We have a friend there. He's been seeing he's a seismologist. Yeah, and he's been recording readings over the years that show subterranean movement, predictable movement. We're going to see him in July, but we could work it around if you're free. I'll have to check my schedule. Okay, cool. Let me give you my email. I have to do the voices. Otherwise it's hard. I know you guys can see the screen, but maybe you're not looking. They quickly hurry off to film an intro for their latest video, featuring a quick interview with Rob, who seems pretty welcoming of the attention. Actually, I can do a Valley Girl accent really well because I lived in Southern California for so long. So the last two cars arrive within a few seconds of each other. A lithe, strong-willed older lady who goes by Blue Jay, and a younger man going by the call sign Ace. Blue Jay has arrived in a gray Ford Explorer. Ace, much to Rob's annoyance, has arrived in a Porsche. Did you think that's going to help on the road? I didn't write that. It's my car. What am I meant to do? It's my car. You didn't read my itinerary. You got nothing packed in there. I did read it, sir, okay? Calm down. I have a bag. I won't ask you for anything. Well, I know that's true. No, the first one was so nerdy, weeaboo. Thank you. Ace and Rob were off to a bad start. Ace takes a phone call, and despite my best efforts to get an interview with Blue Jay, she doesn't seem interested in talking to a journalist. With 5 cars and 7 travelers waiting for a green light, Rob hands out radios and charging packs, then launches into a quick safety briefing. Wear seatbelts, stay in position, communicate clearly and often. It's at this moment I start to feel a little dismay. I like Rob, and clearly so does everyone else. He convinced all of them to drive across the country to join in with his game. I start to worry what will happen in the likely event that the whole thing isn't real. Would Rob lose the respect of his peers? Would he accept failure when it comes? After seeing the effort he's put into these runs, the next few hours have the potential to be wildly uncomfortable. With a smile and a few encouraging words, Rob ends his briefing and beckons me over to the Wrangler. I clamber inside and make myself as comfortable as possible. Thank you. I'm glad that you like my voices. Hold on, drink break. Mouth dry. Okay. You ready for this, Bristol? I'm ready. Okay then, let's hit the road. The Wrangler pulls out of the driveway, and the convoy follows in order of arrival. Apollo, Bonnie and Clyde, Lilith and Eve, Blue Jay, and Ace keep a steady pace behind us as we come up to the first corner. Rob slowly and deliberately turns left, checking on the others in his rearview mirror. He looks back to the road as Ace's Porsche completes the first turn of the game. Shortly afterwards, Apollo checks in on the CB radio. This is Apollo for Ferryman. How many more to go, Rob? As many as it takes. I can tell Rob wanted to reserve the radio, but it's a typo. Anyway, I can tell Rob wanted to reserve the radio for something other than Apollo's quips, but he seems to like Apollo enough to let it slide. I'm not sure Ace would have received the same treatment. We take the next right, then another left. Now safely assured that everyone's following correctly, Rob speaks my thoughts aloud. You're wondering the same thing Apollo is. What do you mean? You're wondering just how many turns we're going to take before we hit a wall or something. Before you find out this is all just a story. Does that disappoint you? I'd be disappointed if you weren't thinking something like it. But now we're on the road, I gotta say something, and you gotta listen to it. Okay? We're coming up to a tunnel soon. Anytime before we reach it, you can get out, walk in any direction you like, and you won't be in the game no more. Once we go through, you gotta retrace the route we took to get yourself back out that tunnel. That's when you're home. And you gotta convince someone to take you back in a car, 'cause I ain't ferrying you back 20 minutes in. You got till the tunnel to skip out on this. Understand? I understand, though I have to say I'm getting a little nervous. Ain't nothing wrong with a little nervous. We've taken 23 turns by this point. Already I feel like we're traversing the city pretty effectively. Rob's heavily modified Wrangler solicits a few impressed glances from passerby, as well as several honks of respect from other Jeep drivers. Other than those few moments, everything seems completely indistinguishable from a regular morning drive. I even start to worry if there'll be anything at all for this story. Reporter takes drive with interesting man isn't exactly Pulitzer-worthy. Turn 33 leads us onto a short, unassuming street. A row of small businesses in a quiet Phoenician neighborhood, liquor, secondhand clothing, tools, and, at the end of the street, a little shop selling antique mirrors. 10 or so people shuffle along the sidewalk, smiling, talking, planning their weekends. The only lone person is a young woman in a gray coat. I briefly glimpse her at the end of the street, standing on our next corner, the back of her coat reflected in 50 old mirrors. Even from a distance, I can see that she's sullen, wide-eyed, and nervous. She shifts constantly on her feet, tugging at the button of her coat. I look away to write some notes as we roll down the street. When I look up again, the woman is standing by my window, staring right at me. She's smiling, a wide, unfaltering grin that seems almost offensive in its complete insincerity. Lambs at the gate, hoping for something better than clover when all they find are things worse than slaughter. Rob, what's happening? Ignore her. He wanted to leave. He wanted to leave me, so I cut him out. The lake was hungry. It drank the wound clean. Miss, are you all right? The smile vanishes. It snaps from her face, and suddenly the woman is furious. What do you think you're doing? Have you gone mad? I reflexively press myself back in my chair as the woman, wild-eyed and gaunt, slams her fists against my window with every intent of breaking through. Would you dance down the lion's tongue? It will shred you, you whore! It will shred you down to your sins, you fucking bastard! Rob puts his foot down, and the Wrangler rolls defiantly away from the woman. As we turn the corner, I watch her as she retches, her every movement cradled in abject hysteria. She yells despairingly at the rest of the convoy, bursting into tears when the last car passes her by. As she shrinks into the rearview mirror, I see her turn to a large mirror on the side of the shop, which the owner is in the process of polishing. I watch as she walks up to it and, with a convulsant scream, slams her head into the glass. The mirror cracks around her forehead. The owner jumps back in shock, and as the woman pulls her head from the mirror's surface, the fractured spider's web is dripping red. It all happens in a split second, and she quickly swerves from my view as we take the next left. Rob, what was that? She's there sometimes. On that street? On the 34th turn. Who is she? I don't know. She's never acted out that much before, though. Must be a special trip. I find Rob's lack of concern a little unpleasant, and his implication that this woman's ravings were a symptom of an internet game leaves me more than a little perturbed. As I see it, there are a few explanations for what just happened, and none of them lead to a comforting conclusion. If we had just encountered a bona fide crazy person, then one could argue that Rob is just seeing what he wants to see. Maybe he'd brought into the game's story so much that every strange but explainable occurrence would be rationalized as the next step in his favorite paranormal narrative. Alternatively, the woman could have been an actor. A more elaborate theory, sure, but not unheard of. People have lied to the show before, and Rob was receiving a ton of publicity for this attempt from Lilith, Eve, and I. I admit, Rob didn't seem like a liar, but good liars never do. There is a third alternative, however, an alternative which, if you put logic aside, explains the all-troubling little details that I couldn't help but notice. Because as strange as the gray woman was, isn't it stranger that no one on the street would react? I couldn't recall a single glance in her direction by anybody on the sidewalk. Perhaps that theory falls apart when you consider the shock on the mirror seller's face, but when I think about it, he only reacted once the mirror shattered, and even then, I feel like his attention was on the mirror itself. The radio crackles. Lilith, Bristol, Sarah, Eve, got that on camera. Do you have audio? I think it picked her up. My God, that was so weird. Can you send us the file when we stop? Can you ask Ferryman when we're stopping? When's our stopping point? For them, in about 30 minutes. For you? Well, you tell me. Rob turns off a busy street just before a large intersection onto a much quieter stretch of two-lane road. Ahead of us, the road slopes downward, leading into an underpass which disappears into darkness. We'd arrived at the tunnel. What is this supposed to pass under? Ain't supposed to pass under anything. It's just there. And if we weren't playing the game, then it won't show. Question is, are you playing the game or not? Rob turns to me. It's the first time he's taken his eyes off the road since we started. He pulls the car to a slow stop at the mouth of the tunnel. You get out now, you can go wherever you want to go. But through there, you'll need a car to get yourself home, and like I said, mine ain't turning round for a long while. You understand? It's a dramatic statement, but unsettlingly, it doesn't feel like he's attempting to dramatize. It feels like I'm having something genuinely asked of me. Am I ready for what's to come? Do I accept the risks involved? Do I consent to be taken down this road and the next road and the next? Am I prepared to see this game through, real or otherwise, to its end? What are you waiting for? Rob smiles and turns back to the road. He picks up the CB radio, holds down the button on the side. The microphone crackles. This is Fairman to all cars. Anyone want to step out? Then pull to the side now. Otherwise, stay in formation and have some supplies at hand. We got a long ways to go. Much like the game I'm so tentatively playing, my view of Robert J. Guthard seems to change direction frequently. I'd heard all about his life, but I'm sure that I know him. I like the guy, but I'm not certain that I trust him. And though I admire his dedication to the left-right game, I'm not sure I'll like where it might lead us. Yet, as he takes us into the tunnel, his face vanishing and reappearing under the dim sodium lights, I can tell that he expects this trip to be a major step in his already impressive story. And this time, for better or for worse, I'm along for the ride. And that's the end of part one. Part one of the left-right game. I love this stupid story. I say stupid. It's not stupid. It's a very, very good horror story. It's like I don't say something is my favorite without there being a reason for it being my favorite. What do you guys think? Did you enjoy it? Hold on, I'm gonna mute real quick. All right. I see some hearts. I see some little party poppers. Yay, I'm glad you like it, Kiki. It's very good. Yeah, it's super, super good. Do you guys want to do part two? Sometimes story you find on these subreddits. Yeah, no, for real. Like I remember Jeff the Killer, even like Slender Man, like the original stories aren't like good. But this one in particular is like god tier level story. I'm assuming the hearts mean yes on to part two, so I'm going to make this go away before I click part two, just in case it tries to tell me to log in again and it flashes my name on the screen. Okay, it didn't. We're good. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get rid of that in the stream archive. I don't know how to do that. I guess I'm gonna have to learn to edit. Need to head to bed. Thanks so much for streaming. No worries. Have a good nighty night. This will still be here if you want to check it out. Down for part two. Thought you had to stop soon. I mean, you don't have to. It's only 9:20. I can go for at least part two. But I could also schedule a different stream where we just read the left-right game. It is up to you. I leave it in your capable hands. Ooh. My drink is very... Hello. Hello, welcome. We were about to start part two of the left-right game. I wrote 400 words, almost 500, of dmay and of the new chapter, and then we started reading. And I'm pleasantly tipsy. Okay, all right. Just, if anybody just joined us, we just did part one of the left-right game. To sum it up, essentially it introduces us to all of our characters. We'll re-meet them as we go, but there's Rob. There's Alice Sharma. She's our main character. She's a journalist who is investigating this sort of supernatural game, right? Where you turn left and then right and then left and then right, and it's supposed to take you somewhere new. And there's a bunch of people who are following along. and they have just entered this tunnel that only shows up on the 34th turn. They met a creepy lady at the corner. I'm doing voices. And we're going to jump in. Hi, everyone. I've got the day off work, and I wanted to start it by posting up the next log. Coral Malphas, hello, welcome, welcome. I also want to thank you all for your responses so far. A few people have linked me to the sites that Rob J. Guthard may have operated on. Someone even offered to look up the mirror shop in Phoenix and try to retrace the route to Rob's neighborhood. I'm going to spend the day making a few international calls and sending emails out, but if you guys have any other ideas about how I could pursue this, I'd really appreciate them. In all honesty, I'm going to need all the help I can get. This whole ordeal has proven pretty categorically that I am no Alice Sharma. Speaking of which, I'm going to let her take it from here. Thanks again. The Left-Right Game, Draft 1, 8th of February, 2017. The next turn comes immediately after the tunnel. We'd been in the dimly lit passage for almost 2 minutes, but at the pace Rob likes to travel, it's hard to figure out how far we've actually gone. When we descend into the underpass, we were just nearing the outskirts of Phoenix. Scrutinizing the rearview mirror as we leave, it's fair to say we aren't that much further out. Everything else, the temperature, the time of day, the weather, all seems exactly like it had been before we ventured into the tunnel. I'm not sure what I was expecting, of course, but it certainly doesn't feel like we're anywhere new. The tunnel itself had been similarly underwhelming, especially considering the importance Rob seemed to place on it. In fact, the only thing of true interest since we passed through was something Rob said once we hit the halfway mark. As the tunnel's mouth loomed toward us, Rob picked up the CB radio transceiver and issued a casual warning to the convoy. The message itself was straightforward. His choice of words, however, was curious. I decided to ask him about it. And before I get into more voices, I actually need to get another drink. And I'm going to mute again because cracking open a can is loud, and I don't want to do that to your poor little ears. So if you need a potty break, this is your chance because I'm going to get up and get a new drink. Yeah. All right. Little minute break here. Ash. Mother is kind, mother is thoughtful. Mother just listens to a lot of ASMR, okay? I just listen to a lot of ASMR and I don't want to hurt your little baby ears the way that sometimes mine get hurt. So, hold on. Okay, let's keep going. Rob, just a second ago, when you told us the next turn was coming up, why did you use the word trap? I have it in my notes. You said, folks, we're coming to the end soon. First little trap's coming up. Our next turn is shop left as we leave. Look out for it. Is there a reason you used the word trap? Just one of those things. The fellow who wrote all the original logs, he liked to think the road would try and trick you into making a wrong turn. Small roads off large highways, roads obscured from view, sharp turns like this one. He thought the road was trying to deceive him. Yeah, pretty much. I gotta say, I agree with the guy. By this point, we've taken the offending corner and the next right a little further on. I can't help but feel that Rob is reading a great deal into what is, essentially, an abrupt turn in an ordinary road. The level of conspiracy he's able to place behind such a simple thing, going as far as to ascribe some mischievous quality to the asphalt itself, it's hard to take seriously. In fact, I'm starting to wonder less about whether Rob can convince me this game is real, and more about whether I'd ever be able to convince him that it isn't. Perhaps this story will be less about where a magic roadway goes after a few zigzagging turns, and more about where the human mind can go if it invests too heavily in an idea. To his credit, Rob has noted my cynicism. He even seems to welcome it. But if our current surroundings are supposed to convince me, then he's going to find me more cynical than he anticipated. Yeah, I don't like the whispered ones. Rob keeps his hands on the wheel and his eyes on the road. Any attempt at an interview receives a pleasant but curt response. He's not being evasive. His attention is just elsewhere. Before I know it, half an hour has gone by without Rob speaking a word. It seems like a large part of the left-right game involves driving in complete silence. Once again, I'm not sure what I expected, but it's certainly not been an earth-shattering start. At least it gives me time to type up my notes. Fairman to all cars, we stop here. An uneventful hour and a half has passed since we left the tunnel. I didn't notice Rob pick up the receiver, but before I know it, the Wrangler has pulled up at the side of the road, leaving a large space behind us for the rest of the convoy to park up. The buildings are getting few and far between now. It won't be long until we're in the desert proper. With this in mind, I assume Rob is simply stopping to let everyone drink up. I probably shouldn't assume when it comes to Rob Guthard. Though this is definitely a rest stop, Rob also has some important words for the crew. He gathers us round in a rough semicircle, talking while we eat our provisions. Now, I mentioned in the emails that at certain points on this trip, you'd need to do some things just because I say so. This is one of those times. Y'all understand? Yeah, I guess. We get to know what it is, right? This is when he tells us to give him our money, right, Rob? Yeah, I'd rather know what's going on, and I don't intend on keeping anything from you. I just want to be clear that across this next stretch, you need to follow my orders to the letter. Yeah, we get it. Just tell us already. Rob takes a few moments, perhaps to lend gravity to his point, perhaps to swallow some barbed words intended for the increasingly impatient Ace. When he does speak, it's in a measured and serious tone. He's clearly adamant that we take his words on board. For about half an hour, the next 13 turns, we'll be going one by one. We travel in order of formation. Me and Bristol will go first, then I'll radio the next car to follow. When you reach the Jeep, you park up behind me. Then we keep going as normal. Now, Rob takes a deep breath in. When he starts up again, his speech is even more pointed than before. There's a hitchhiker on the road, a well-dressed man with a case. You pick him up, you take him where he needs to go. You do not, under any circumstances, talk to the man. To be safe, don't look at him. Don't take anything he offers you. Don't open the door for him or wave goodbye when he leaves. You do not acknowledge him in any way. You want my advice? Don't say a word till you get to the stopping point. Why do we have to go one by one? Guy who wrote all the logs says he don't like choosing cars. I don't know what that means, but I'm lucky I never had to find out. Why don't we just not pick him up? That isn't an option. Well, I mean, yeah, it is. I don't see why we... God damn it, you'll pick him up whether you want to or not. The group is silent. This is the first time Rob's raised his voice. In the ensuing stillness, Ace looks like he'd be more than happy to turn his car around and retrace the route back to Phoenix, leaving Rob in the dust with a few choice words. I can sympathize with him a little. Rob's been treating him as an annoyance, a tag-along who didn't do the homework. But at the end of the day, Ace is doing nothing to fix things. Also, Rob is essentially right. He didn't do the homework. Well, okay. I suppose we should get back on the road then, if everyone's ready. Ace is gonna die. Deciding he has nothing more to say to us, Rob marches over to the Wrangler. Bonnie, Clyde, Apollo, and Eve sit on the floor sharing snacks. Ace loses himself in his phone, and Blue Jay, still maintaining a noticeable distance from the group, takes to her car with a copy of US Weekly. Or Us Weekly? I never know if it was US or Us. Bristol, can we talk? I turn around to see Lilith holding her cell phone with the screen facing me. Yeah, sure, what's up? Have you tried to make any calls since we came through the tunnel? No, not yet. Why? Could you try? I pull out my own cell and dial into the office. The line's busy, which isn't exactly uncommon. Lilith watches intently, waiting for a reaction. I'm not getting through. They were busy? Yeah. Why? Everyone is. We have signal. We can make calls, but everyone on the other end is busy. Don't you think it could just be a coincidence? I really mean everyone, Bristol. While Eve's been driving, I've been calling. My camera's automated, support line, 911. You dialed 911. For science, yeah. All of them are busy. I even called this guy at my dorm who has a serious thing for me, and trust me, he is not fucking busy. This is weird, right? Like it's like we've crossed a threshold and the world's suddenly doing something else, you know? In all honesty, I'm not sure I do know. I don't want to say it, but it still seems like a massive stretch. Luckily, Rob saves me from commenting when he calls me over to the car, clearly eager to get back on the road. I tell Lilith we'll look into her discovery on the other side, and she nods in agreement, retreating to her friend and immediately stealing a handful of apple slices. Lilith is great. I love Lilith and Eve. I climb into the Wrangler and wave goodbye to the convoy. We slowly roll back onto the road and set off on our way. Watching the rest of the group disappear into the background, I feel noticeably more isolated despite Rob's presence. Or perhaps because of it. I'm not exactly sure. The hitchhiker shows up about 10 turns later. Just like Rob said, the man is incredibly well dressed in a well-fitting brown suit with a dark green tie. Even from a distance, I can see his shoes are expertly shined, as is the varnished wooden case resting on the floor beside him. He stands on the side of the road and raises his hand gingerly, wearing a look of hopeful anticipation. Who is he? The hitchhiker. Is that really all you're going to say? It's all I can say. You understand the rules here? Don't talk to him. I'd say don't talk at all. Not until we stop. When we stop, we're safe. Rob veers slowly over to the side of the road. The hitchhiker smiles appreciatively, grasping his hands together and shaking them in thanks. Picking up his case, he strolls over to the Wrangler whilst unbuttoning his blazer. See you on the other side. The back door opens, and the hitchhiker pulls himself into the storage area. Finding no seating, he settles himself cheerfully on some of the softer luggage just behind me. Not much in the way of seating back here, huh? I have to admit, I do feel a subtle urge to respond. Even after the stern warnings I've received, to ignore the man seems almost instinctively rude. I was raised British, after all. So where are you all from? I'm traveling in from Oakwell. I glance at him in the rear view. He meets my gaze and smiles. I flick my attention back to the road, counting the white lines. The stranger persists in trying to start a conversation. 10 minutes go by. The silence grows palpable, broken intermittently by yet another cheerful attempt at conversation. Topics include what nice weather we're having, our professions, our hobbies. In response, I busy myself with pointless but occupying tasks. I find myself playing games in my head, thinking of common phrases and making them into clunky anagrams. It seems to work, and after a short while, I start to habituate to the man's small talk. I almost don't notice that he's there. Maybe that's what allows him to catch me out. You're just a fucking disappointment, aren't you? The statement comes out of the blue. It's sharp, venomous, completely divorced from the idle questioning I'd been tuning out. I'm daydreaming when I hear it, and before I can register what I'm doing, I'm turning to face him. My lips are already parting as I go, a reflexive thought reflexively vocalized. What? I almost say it out loud. The word is on the edge of my tongue, a single note my vocal cords were all but ready to play. Only the sudden, vice-like grip of Rob's hand on my forearm anchors me in the moment. I stare at the hitchhiker, my mouth still open. He's different now. All of the warmth, all of the pleasantry, it's drained from his face like running makeup. His smile is malevolent, calculating, and finally, it feels honest. You want to know things? I can tell you. Rob keeps his eyes focused on the road, but his grip on my arm tightens. I can tell you everything you want to know, even the things you never knew about yourself, even the thoughts you didn't know you were thinking, those little critters all the way at the back. We stare at each other a moment longer before I turn round and back to the road. I don't count the white lines anymore. Now I'm focused intently on anything our passenger has to say. For the next 10 minutes, ignoring him is going to have my full attention. Yeah, I love the man on the road. He's cool. He only tries a few more times, reverting back to more innocent questioning. Nothing takes. 5 minutes later, he indicates to a seemingly random point at the side of the road, and Rob drops him off. The man thanks us, climbs neatly out, puts down his case, and waves as we depart. When we disappear around the next corner, he still hasn't stopped. Surprisingly, the silence caused by the hitchhiker's presence isn't nearly as intense as the one left in his wake. I decided to break the tension, somewhat ungracefully. To be fair, we are having nice weather. Don't talk. Are you mad at me? I'm sorry you got to me. I wasn't expecting. You did fine. We don't talk till we stop. I go back to my notes, making a point to write down my current feelings. For the record, embarrassed but relieved. Once I put the words down on paper, however, I feel something else. Confusion mixed with concern. Because at the end of the day, what was I relieved about? That I didn't talk to a strange man who had tried to talk to me? Was anything really at stake? The more I think about it, the more I realize that the entire episode with this mysterious hitchhiker reduces the left-right game to two possible states. It's either real, or it's an elaborate hoax perpetuated by Rob J. Guthard. The crazy woman, the tunnel, the malicious left turn, all of those could be explained as rationalizations. But the hitchhiker was far too elaborate, far too difficult to predict. If he was an actor, then Rob is nothing more than an impressive fraud. If he was genuine, then I'm not entirely sure where that leaves us. Something in the corner of my eye pulls me from my thoughts. A transient peripheral object that almost completely passes me by before I turn in a weak attempt to catch it. I only get a few seconds to look before it's gone from my field of view. I face forward once more, sit back in my chair, and let Rob carry us even further down the road. It's not too long before we finally pull over. Drink pause. Yeah, the hitchhiker's creepy AF. He's spooky. You did good. I'm sorry for grabbing you. I just didn't want you to do something you'd regret. No, it's fine. I was going to. Do you know what happens if you talk to him? Not sure. Came close myself once a few years back. The way he looks at you when he thinks he's got you, I don't think I want to know. Rob, I saw something a few minutes ago. I don't know if you've noticed it. Afraid I had my eyes forward most of the time. There was a car on the side of the road. It had crashed off the bank. Have you seen that before? I ain't never seen that. but random stuff sometimes shows up here and there. Have people other than you run the left-right gang? No one I know of. Whoever it was, they'd probably just rather crash than face that damn hitchhiker again. He's there on the way back, too? If you're unlucky. Well, something to look forward to. Rob picks up the CB radio and messages for Apollo to set off, repeating his warnings concerning the hitchhiker. I feel like everyone's going to get a similar speech before they embark. Ace will probably get it twice. Half an hour later, Apollo shows up. Though he laughs about the ordeal, he's clearly a little shaken. Guy should call himself an Uber. Shut those guys up. You guys have Uber in England? Yeah. You know what I mean, right? Bonnie and Clyde arrive quicker than Apollo. They pull up at the back, Clyde helps Bonnie out of the car, and they proceed to stretch their legs. Once Apollo joins them, it's clear that everyone has a different story to tell. The hitchhiker offered Clyde travel suites, pleasantly but firmly insisting he take one. Apollo almost got talking about his music tastes after the hitchhiker asked to play something on the radio. That particular story does leave me curious about whether we still get NPR on this road. Sorry, I'm fumbling a little bit. Rob customarily greets Bonnie and Clyde, then walks off to signal Eve and Lilith. He's still sitting in the Jeep when I meet him at the door. Hey, what's you up to? Just waiting by the phone. Girls are on their way. You need anything? Maybe. I think Apollo's been affected by the whole hitchhiker thing a bit more than he's letting on. Seems just fine to me. I'm not so sure. He's only smiling when people are nearby. Could you talk to him? Well, I ain't much comfort. I got 4 ex-wives to tell me that. Think it might be better coming for you? I think this is a man-to-man conversation. I might just get a brave face. Rob doesn't look comfortable, but he acquiesces, climbing out of the car. Last man-to-man conversation I had, my son didn't talk to me for 3 months. I watch him wander over to Apollo, who is standing by his Range Rover staring into his phone. Rob puts a calming hand on the man's shoulder. From a distance, it's actually a sweet moment. I start to feel bad for lying to him. I carefully open the driver's side door and climb into the Wrangler, assuming I have around 20 seconds before Rob comes back. Picking up the CB radio receiver, I stare at a list of presets labeled 1 through 9. I don't know which button I press to talk to Eve and Lilith, and I certainly don't have time to call everyone up. Rob handed us all a transceiver before we left. It's what he's been making the all-car bulletins with. Preset 1 puts him in touch with a transceiver in each car. I've seen that in practice enough times. The rest of the presets must access the transceivers individually, and if Rob is the man I think he is, he gave our radios out in order of position. If that's the case, then either Rob or I could be preset 2, Apollo could be next, then Bonnie and Clyde. Without knowing where Rob has placed himself in the queue, the only option which would guarantee me getting through to Lilith and Eve would be preset 7. I think that makes sense. With no time to check my work, I press the button and snatch up the receiver. This is Bristol to Lilith and Eve. Are you guys there? The receiver crackles quietly. I look in the wing mirror and see Rob making awkward small talk with Apollo. Perhaps his 4 ex-wives were onto something. Lilith to Bristol. How's it on the other side? We haven't seen the hitchhiker. Oh, by the way, I just phoned Eve and it went through. Can I have your number to test? Sorry, Lilith. I'm phoning about something else. Why? What's going on over there? Apollo's nodding to Rob. I can imagine him making assurances that he's perfectly fine. I really don't have long at all. I have a mission for you, but you have to keep it secret. Sounds awesome. What's up? Once you're past the hitchhiker, there's a crashed car on the road on the passenger side. Whilst you go past it, would you mind getting some footage? What sort of footage? Just zoom in and get as much detail as possible. You don't need to stop. Just anything will be useful. Rob's starting to walk back to the car. I shift into the passenger seat, still holding the receiver. Is there anything specific? You talk to me later, not now. Thank you, bye. I slam the receiver into its holster a moment before Rob opens the door. He shrugs at me. Seems fine, unless there's something he ain't telling me. Drink break. Mouth dry. Whew. Okay. The rest of the day is fairly uneventful. Lilith and Eve pull in, beaming about their experience with the hitchhiker and bragging about what the dashcam footage would mean for their channel. Lilith ends her story by insisting that nothing else happened for the rest of her journey, whilst directing a highly intentional look in my direction. I look away and make a mental note to catch up with her when less people are around. Blue Jay seems the least fazed by her run in with the hitchhiker. We do manage to get a few words out of her, though perhaps a few is an exaggeration. I'm tired. After which she goes to sit down on her own. When Ace pulls up to the side of the road, he almost falls out of his car. His legs are weak, his face gaunt, his breath quick and shallow. I try and get him to talk about it on tape, but he shrugs me off, eager to hear about where we're going rather than talk about where we've been. We travel for a while longer, now at around 486 turns and nearing our first night on the road. Rob signals our stopping point, a quiet clearing at the top of a hill. Rob clears a sleeping area in the back of the Wrangler, leaving a line of luggage as a barrier between us. I appreciate the thought, but don't really know how to tell him. In the end, I just say, "Thanks for making room." Apollo attempts to keep everyone from going to bed, issuing vague statements about making a fire, but people quickly shuffle off to their cars. The early start and the subsequent events of the day have taken their toll. I watch Lilith and Eve break away from the group and head to bed. I suppose I'll have to talk to them tomorrow morning when Rob isn't around. I still feel a bit bad for lying to him and for pulling Lilith and Eve into what could be a blatant act of dumb paranoia. Rob seems like a good man, a reasonable man, as flawed as any of us, but fundamentally decent. But the fact remains that when I talked to him about the crashed car, he clearly said, "No one I know of. Whoever it was, they'd probably just rather crash than face that damn hitchhiker again." I want to trust Rob. I want to believe him when he says he didn't see the car, that he'd never seen a car on that stretch of road. But for a man of so few words, he might have said too much. If he truly never saw the car, how did he know the direction it was facing? I make all my notes concerning this subject on paper and in shorthand, which I'm hoping, in Rob's long and varied life, he hasn't inexplicably learned to read. Long after Rob's gone to bed, I stay in the passenger seat, typing up my thoughts on the day. That was Sister Moon by Leslie Estrada, another song to calm you folks down as we head into the evening. It's Chuck Greenwald, and I'm with you till the witching hour. I decided to put the radio on in the end. I was curious, and I also wanted the company. I turned the volume way down so the noise wouldn't reach Rob, and searched around for something to have in the background. There aren't many stations to choose from out here. The clearest one is Radio Jubilation, the local station for a nearby town. The current DJ, Chuck Greenwald, has been playing soulful folk music for an hour. It's been a busy week in Jubilation as we welcome in the new school principal, a very impressive guy who's bringing some new and interesting proposals to our community. It's got a few people talking about funding for the arts. If you got a view, we'd love to hear it. I finished typing up my less clandestine notes and just then realized how tired I am. Wanting to sleep, but not yet prepared to move the single yard between me and the air mattress, I lie back in my seat, listening to Mr. Greenwald address his beloved town. Well, we're going back to we're going to go back to your request very soon, and I can tell you we've got some goodies on the way. For now, though, let's take ourselves to the new box. They're going to hurt now. Immediately, at the volume of a whisper, Radio Jubilation begins to broadcast a cacophony of bone-rending screams. The noise shreds the air, what sounds like hundreds of people, each contributing their own voice to a collective symphony of pain and torment. I instinctively move my body away from the radio, suddenly upright and wide awake. The cries are ceaseless, agonizing, punctuated only by a half-stifled, tear-choked pleas for whatever is happening to stop. A moment later, it does. Or, at the very least, the screaming cuts out as the soft tones of Chuck Greenwald take over. I look from the radio over to the sleeping figure of Rob J. Guthard. I can't help but stare at him as a single thought runs through my head. I hope this man's a fraud. I hope he's playing me. Because if he isn't, then there's something very wrong with this road. Hope you folks enjoyed that. We're going to be bringing you much, much more. This is Chuck Greenwald telling you you're always welcome in Jubilation. Stay with us. And that's the end of part 2. Woo! Pew, pew, pew. Part 2 done. I love Chuck Greenwald. I love this spooky ass story. Oh, me too. I have desperately wanted this to be a movie since it came out in, hold on, scrolling up, hold on, 6 years ago. Because I read it like basically as it was coming out, I think. Because like I think I remember getting to like part 7 and being like, where the fuck is the rest? Yeah, so like I read this like as it was coming out, I'm pretty sure. Was a big fan, and I've wanted a movie ever since. It's super good. It's super good and super spooky. I'm sure I'm not doing this nearly as much justice as both Papa Meat, because he's a great voice actor, and Weenie Goon did, and then also Tessa Thompson and whoever else was supposed to voice this. Like, my God, Tessa Thompson. I love her. I love her so much. All right. My voice is getting a little sore, so I once again ask, would you like me to move on to part 3, to Jubilation? Okay, part 3, because I like 3s. All right, okay, hold on. Let me make sure, once again, that I'm not gonna, like, accidentally... Yes, I'm an adult. View the not safe for work content. Love to continue. We're gonna continue. Oh, there we go. All right. I won't hurt myself. We're good. Okay. Hold on. I'm like drinking a bunch so that I'm not smacking and sounding weird. Okay. Hello again, guys. I've finally got around to posting the next log. I would have put this up sooner, but unfortunately I've had bikes to repair, and if I don't do it, the customers might go online and discover it's not actually that hard. I want to thank you again for the help you've given me in finding Alice. The guy who said he'd tracked down the mirror shop is giving me regular updates on his progress, and I've received a whole lot of help going through American missing persons reports. It turns out Alice's work haven't heard from her either, and they're going through their emails for Rob's submission to the show. Everyone's been really helpful, so thank you. I've got to say, I'm sleeping worse since this whole thing began. It's strange to think that all the time Alice was out of contact. Yeah, it's not safe for work. It's about to get spooky. I was perfectly content. Yet now that she's got back in touch, every day I don't hear from her makes me that much more worried. That's assuming, of course, that it was her who sent me the email. I really hope it was. Thanks again, everyone, and please let me know if you find anything. The Left-Right Game, Draft 1, 9th of February, 2017. Rice, non-perishable. Soy sauce, non-perishable. Salt, non-perishable. Eggs, well, they're perishable, but I bought them fresh and I hard-boiled. That'll last a week. And I got them hard-boiled. That'll last a week. It's breakfast time, the start of our first full day on the road. Rob's been up since 7 o'clock, cooking a meal for anyone who wants it. The aroma pulls us out of our makeshift beds and arranges us around his portable stove. Our bowls are already full before we realize there's a catch. The trade-off for this supposedly free food? A 10-minute lecture from Rob about the power of rice. See, in the Pacific, our guys used to be terrified of the Japanese. Whole armies marching on grains? Thought they were super soldiers. See, the Japs know the secret. You give people rice in the morning, and they're going for the whole day. After dropping 2 large spoonfuls of his favorite staple into a bowl and handing it to me, Rob breaks a raw egg over the top. The yolk clouds over as I stir it in. To be fair, the food is delicious, and it's fun to watch Rob on his soapbox. At least there are some things he's willing to talk at length about. I love Rob. I love him so much. I love him. Okay. I stare across the circle at Lilith and Eve. The latter has spilled rice onto her laptop, and her friend is teasing her playfully. Eve sees me looking over, meets my gaze, and turns back to Lilith, her tone dramatically muted. I return to my food, making a point to seem attentive to Rob's speech. A minute later, the 2 girls decide they've finished their meal, and I quickly realize, so have I. Devouring the last few bites, I place my bowl in the small tub of hot water next to the stove and casually wander over to their car. Lilith and Eve are facing away from me, silently packing up their sleeping bags. They refuse to look at me once I reach them, in a deeply conspicuous attempt at subtlety. Is he watching? I glance over at Rob. He's still talking at Bonnie, Clyde, and Apollo, asking them to guess what breakfast translates to in Japanese. I think we're fine. So, did you see the car? Without answering, Eve reaches into the back seat and picks up a MacBook, the repository for all of Paranormicon's footage. She presses play as Lilith and I huddle around her, blocking the view of any potential onlookers. The footage depicts a familiar road. Lilith and Eve must have dropped off the hitchhiker and just made the next corner. I can hear them talking about the experience, both terrified and thrilled at the events of the day. Eve reminds Lilith that they need to look out for the car. Lilith swears, and the camera immediately starts scouring the roadside. Look, there it is! I see it! Slow down! Slow down! The abandoned car comes into view. With Eve slowing to a crawl and Lilith maxing out her camera's zoom function, a precious few details can be summarily gleaned. The car's windscreen and driver's side window are broken. The keys are still in the ignition, and once Eve overtakes the wreck, it's just possible to make out a dark stain soaked into the driver's seat. Stop the car! Just as the video Eve starts to slow to a halt, the real Lilith shuts the laptop. I glance between them, trying to keep my voice as low as possible. You stopped the car? I mean, yeah. We know you told us not to, but it was really weird. So I went over and you got out of the car. For the record, I was super against it. Anyway, there wasn't much in there and that we didn't get from the road, except there was a bag on the back seat. Did you get a look inside? Yeah. Do you wanna? Of course they stopped. Lilith nods her head towards the back of their car. It takes me a second to realize what she's getting at. It's in the boot! It's in the what? It's in the trunk! Yeah, obviously, we couldn't just leave it there. Look, you can watch the rest of the footage anytime. We'll even send it to you, but you need to look in the bag before we hit the road. I check on Rob once more. He's washing up the bowls and cutlery, exchanging small talk with Bonnie, oblivious to what's transpiring a mere 5 meters away. Lilith and Eve escort me to the trunk, reforming our secretive huddle before Eve lifts it open. A brown leather duffel bag sits front and center. It looks expensive, but worn, probably a few decades old. The pair gesture for me to unzip it. Just to preface this, I want to say this whole trip has been fucking weird. The bag isn't exactly full. I rummaged through the loose I rummaged through the loose contents. I'm not surprised it was them, facepalm. I rummaged through the loose contents, finding a few sets of good quality men's shirts and a pair of jeans. Further down, I find a small and well-used shaving kit. I'm starting to wonder what Lilith and Eve are so bent out of shape over when my hand hits the hard edge of a straight rectangular object. Slowly, and with great care, I manage to extricate it from the layers of wool and denim. It's a package, a heavy square block about the length of my forearm, neatly wrapped in brown paper. It seems completely unassuming, except for the black wire hanging from the underside, leading back into the bag itself. Lifting the wire, a black plug rises out and swings slightly in midair. Turn it around. With both girls watching me intently, I turn the package in my hands. The wire connects to the charging port of an old Nokia 3210. I don't know what it's an old Nokia. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure it's a brick. Which in turn is superglued to the package along with a few shards of exposed circuit board. Last, but certainly not least, are the words emblazoned on the browned paper in imposing black typeface. C4 explosive. My mouth feels dry. I wasn't expecting that. I know. Fuck this road, right? There was tons more in his trunk too. It was insane. Is this dangerous? Not right now. It's basically inert unless you have a detonator. Are you sure? We have Wikipedia downloaded on a hard drive. It's the only reason Eve let me bring it here. She read the article like 3 times. Anyway, the Nokia's out of battery. Okay, well, I'm not even going to ask how you know that. I don't get this. Why would someone bring plastic explosive for the left-right game? I mean, what the hell are we headed into? I have no idea. Do you know if Rob has any? If I have any what? When I look up, Rob's only a few steps away from us. I hide the C4 behind my back, dropping it into my satchel next to my notebook. I just manage to pull my fingers out of the way as Eve instinctively slams the trunk shut. Tips for sleeping in cars. These guys had a rough night. Well, sorry to hear that. Just something you gotta get used to, I guess. We're hitting the road in 15, 20 minutes. That all right with you guys? Yeah, totally. Bristol, you mind helping me pack up? Not at all. Painfully aware of what's hanging at my side, I step away with Rob towards the now dismantled stove. Looking over my shoulder, I see Lilith and Eve are watching us go, their faces awash with apprehension. Ash, that was your first cell ever, similar to the indestructible 3310. Has a little antenna, roughly the same size as 3310. My mom had one. It was her first mobile. The more you know. Yeah, I think I had a Nokia for my first phone too, and I don't remember what kind it was because I was in like 6th grade. So, and all I wanted at that time was a Razor flip phone. Drink break. Hold on. Okay. I can't say I feel the same. Despite my surroundings and the multitude of unsettling events, I don't have space in my head for apprehension just now. All anxiety is slowly being pushed out, its territory annexed by a bolstering sense of resolve. There are far too many strange things happening on this road, and, even if it kills me, I'm going to find out what they all mean. Rob, can I talk to you? We've packed everything into the back of the Wrangler and are about to get back on the road when Ace comes up behind us. Rob turns around, and I sense an icy shield raising up as he curtly addresses our compatriot. What is it, Ace? Can I ask you something? It's okay if you need me to go home after. The shield thaws. This isn't the Ace we've seen before, and Rob's perceptive enough to notice. He engages, albeit cautiously. What do you want to ask? Ace shuffles uncomfortably. Suddenly, he seems much younger. Does the hitchhiker... Does anything happen if you don't pick him up? Oh, God damn it, Ace. I told you. You can't... Tell me what happened. I I was making my way down the road, and I was angry at how you'd been. And when I saw the hitchhiker, I thought I should, do what I said and just drive by. Ace starts to tremble, unable to meet Rob's eye. A minute later, I look in the rearview mirror, and he's sitting in the back of my car. He's just talking about the weather. I mean, I swear I didn't pick him up, but when I think about all these memories start coming back, I start to remember pulling over and like letting him in. It's like I did it, but I didn't even. Did you talk to him? No, I promise I didn't say a word. Sorry, it's starting to sound a little southern there too. Oh, Ace. Rob stares at Ace in silence. Ace hangs his head, like a penitent criminal facing judgment. Feels awful, don't it? Ace finally looks up, confused at Rob's words, searching the man's expression for clues. I did the same as you my first time. Just drove right by. Wasn't going to let some stranger in my car. Nearly jumped out of my skin when I saw him in the rear view. Rob grins at Ace, who manages to smile shakily back. You ain't got the right gear for this, Ace. I like to run a tight ship, and I gotta say it pissed me off. If you want to turn that Porsche of yours around, no one will think any less of you. But if you want to keep on this road, how about you try and listen more, and I'll try to be less of a hard ass? Rob Rob holds his hand out for Ace to shake. It's an offer of peace, or at the very least, an offer of terms. Ace accepts it, grimacing only slightly as he faces Rob's iron grip. About time we hit the road. 5 minutes later, we're rolling into a deep valley, each member of the convoy appearing over the crest of the hill behind us. Everyone's present and accounted for, including Ace. I have to say I'm impressed. With what? With how you handled Ace. One might presume a guy who's been divorced 4 times isn't the best at conflict resolution. Divorce is conflict resolution. That's a good point. He seems to be saying the hitchhiker made him pull over? Is that really what happens? Yep. He always ends up in the back seat, and you always remember picking him up. It's just, that's not scientifically possible. Get used to that. We spend the next 2 hours in silence, with me typing up my notes and Rob navigating the sparse few turns that show up every now and then. Ace's testimony troubles me, perhaps because it stretches my favorite theory, that the game is an elaborate hoax perpetuated by Rob Guthard. I was content that the hitchhiker could have been an incredibly deft performer, but even if the man was a rata-trained thespian, that doesn't make him capable of mind control. Ace could be insane, or maybe an actor himself, but those ideas sound exactly like the idle rationalizations I decried in Rob earlier. I'm not sure what my theory is at the moment. I keep working, hoping to type my way to revelation. A few lone trees have started to show up in the distance, towering wild pines with trunks as thick as barrels. Without my noticing, the trees grow slowly more numerous, and in that creeping way that landscapes change, it isn't long until they span both sides of the road, encapsulating us in a deep, bright forest. Realizing I've recorded everything of substance, and with Rob concentrating on the drive, I have no choice but to lay back in my seat and watch the world roll by. Despite the pervasive strangeness of the left-right game, there is beauty on the road. Under the light shade of the canopy, the smell of pine needles permeating the still air, I actually feel myself start to relax. It only takes 3 words to change that. The words don't come from Rob. He's as quiet as always. They aren't spoken by the rest of the convoy either. The words are writ large and The words are writ large in calligraphic gold paint, resting on a spotless white sign. Even from a distance, with the letters little more than a blur, I know what they're going to say. They're the words I've been dreading since I switched off the radio, the words I spent a long, troubled night hoping I'd never see. Welcome to jubilation. It turns out there is room in my head for apprehension. Drink break. Okay. This is Fairman to all cars. We are going to be heading through a small town. No rules here. Just keep driving and we'll be fine. Rob puts his radio back into the receiver. I try to ignore the distinct knot in my stomach. What does the name Chuck Greenwald mean to you? About as much as John Doe. Why? He's the radio DJ here. In Jubilation? How do you know something like that? I was listening to his show last night. What do you know about this place? Seems like a good town. Folk don't pay attention to you. I just head straight through. You've never seen anything untoward? Some weird stuff now and again. I like to keep my eyes on the road. The forest clears abruptly, like a parting curtain, to reveal a picture-perfect American town, archetypal of almost to the point of self-parody. We've arrived in Jubilation. There's no denying this town is beautiful. We're welcomed by a row of vibrantly colored shops spanning the length of a long, wide street. At the far end, an ornate gray-walled town hall proudly surveys its domain. The place is immaculate. I failed to find a solitary piece of litter on the sidewalk, a single smudge on the plate glass shop windows. Every inch of Jubilation is pristine, tranquil, and noticeably deserted. Where is everyone? I don't know. There's usually some around. Maybe there's a game on. We take the next right, then another left. The story's the same at every turn. A beautiful, leafy, suburban town entirely bereft of its human population. The cafes are free of bustle. The surface of the public pool is still. We even see the school, a row of finger-painted faces smiling at us from the kindergarten windows as we pass by. The building itself is locked up, however, which is odd, seeing as it's noon on a Wednesday. Eventually, the Wrangler pulls onto the first residential street we've encountered. The sign on the corner reads Sycamore Row. The quaint shops are replaced by luxuriant houses, all of them identical. White walls, wide porches, and fresh green lawns cut to a uniform length. The road stretches in a straight line for about a mile, creating an eerie corridor of copy-pasted buildings. The strangest thing about the street, however, is vocalized by Rob. Well, I guess we know where everybody is now. In front of every house, a dining room table stands on the lawn, occupied without fail by a family of 4. One husband, one wife, one son, and one daughter. They're sharing a meal together. A unit on the left clink their glasses of orange juice as they dine on pork chops and salad. The family on the right share a large hunk of meatloaf, broad smiles on their faces, staring along the road. I estimate upwards of 800 people in neat subsets of 4, all dining at the same time. X's house, that's gross. That place can burn. Heteronormative creeps. None of them seem to notice us. Ferryman to all cars. Looks like we've come during a town celebration. Let's not bother these good people as we pass on through. Rob lets the car roll slowly down the street, his foot light on the gas pedal, trying to make as little noise as possible. The more families we pass, the clearer it becomes that every single one of them shares common characteristics. All of them are impeccably dressed. All of them consist of the same subset: husband, wife, son, daughter. Though their chosen meals vary slightly, they all share a raucous, almost oppressive happiness. Small town America, am I right, guys? Apollo's jokes don't make things any better. I feel claustrophobic, trapped. Some screaming animal deep within me knows that it's surrounded on every side by something it doesn't understand. I don't know if I'm imagining it, but as we've continued down the road, everyone outside seems to be laughing a little harder and celebrating a little more. We've successfully crept more than halfway down the street, a sharp left turn coming up at the end, representing the road out of Jubilation. Another street comes up on the right, Acer Road. While we pass by it, I take the opportunity to glance down this new avenue, curious as to whether every street is like ours. I don't like what I see. The houses are similarly prestigious, the walls pristine white, but like a spot the difference puzzle, it's the subtle changes that make the picture. There are no tables, no families on the wide green lawns. Almost every window I can see is broken. Cars lie abandoned in the road, with one smashed into a splintered porch. Above every door, an X has been drawn in red paint, and outside of each house, a small mound of clothes lie on the fresh-cut lawn. A huge collective pile of men's, women's, and children's shoes tower at the end of the street, seemingly ownerless. Great going, everybody. Let's get back out there. We've reached the end of the street. I breathe a sigh of relief as we bid farewell to Jubilation. I vindictively see it off in my wing mirror as we turn the corner. I immediately wish I hadn't when, in the split second before it disappears from view, I glimpse the 800+ residents of Sycamore Row. They aren't smiling anymore, and they're all looking our way. I welcome the forest as the trees rise up around us once more. The indifference of nature is a welcome change to the saccharine faux civility of Jubilation. Towns like that make me glad I'm a city boy. I thought it was nice. Wasn't it like Ventura Bay? I don't think I've been. Oh, maybe it was Shelburne Falls. Oh, it was a little like Shelburne Falls. Guys, we gotta keep this channel clear. We hurry along the next road and turn right. The further we get from the eerie town of Jubilation, the higher our spirits seem to be. How long until we stop? About another 4 hours. Nothing big in between us and there, though. Shouldn't be a problem. Kate, so what does breakfast translate to in Japanese? You heard that? Yeah, I've been curious all day. Does it have something to do with... I jolt forwards, sharp pain in my neck, and as my head recoils back against my seat, Rob has stamped his foot onto the brake, bringing us to an immediate and shocking halt. Before I can ask why, my question is answered as one of the colossal pine trees slams into the road ahead of us, blocking our route forward. God damn it! You all right? I'm fine. Massaging my neck, I look towards the base of the felled tree. The low end is covered in straight, sharp-cut marks. Someone has brought this tree down, timing its fall in an attempt to cripple the Wrangler. Rob, what's going on? Vermin all cars. Full reverse. Watch out for the people behind you. The convoy pulls away, back down the road towards Jubilation. Rob waits for Apollo to start moving, then backs up himself. There's a second jolt as Rob abruptly stops the car, surveying our means of egress. Vermin all cars. Road's done for, but there's a gap at the end. Be careful. Rob's right. Though the tree has fallen across the tarmac, only the thin treetop lies over the grassy bank between the road and the forest. There's a bit of a valley between the edge of the road and the grass, and Rob wastes no time in showing the others how to negotiate it. Twisting the wheel, Rob dry steers toward the gap and proceeds cautiously towards the roadside. I watch the asphalt disappear beneath us moments before the telltale bump. The Wrangler drops down the small bankside and turns around the fallen tree. I watch the needle-covered tips brush against my window as we roll past. For the second bump, Rob brings us back onto the road and pulls us over to the far edge, turning the Jeep to face towards the convoy. Okay, Apollo, make your way. On it, Rob. As Apollo swerves towards the gap, I hear something. The sound of a running engine, at first so quiet that it's almost impossible to isolate it from the convoy's own rumblings. It's since grown louder, however. and it's growing steadily more noticeable. Rob, someone's coming. Apollo, get yourself over here right now. All cars, you're on double time. Get moving. Apollo accelerates towards the gap. His Range Rover shudders, banking on the grassy decline, but it's hardly any effort to pull himself around the tree and back onto the road. The noise in the distance grows louder. I can picture the vehicle careening towards the corner, just one turn away from having its windshield locked on the convoy. Though I have no idea what it might be, I don't want to share road space with anything coming out of jubilation. Kiki, you can't make me laugh in the middle of the high tension. Oh no, it's the Straits. All right. The rest of the convoy can hear the noise now. Bonnie and Clyde roll over to the gap and quickly but tentatively push themselves down onto the side. It's clearly harder than Rob and Apollo make it look. After a few moments, they travel across the bank, bringing themselves out on the other side. The vehicle turns the corner. A white truck skids into view, its tires shrieking against the road. A metal beam sticks up behind the driver's compartment, and a hook swings with the momentum of the hard right turn. It's a tow truck, though something tells me it's not here to lend us assistance. All cars, once you're on the other side, drive. Wait around the left turn. I'll radio if they get by me. What about you guys? I'll come once everyone's across. Now ain't the time for questions. Even Lilith, get over here, now. We still have time to get everyone across, but every passing second feels like a precious, fleeting loss. Eve and Lilith are impatient for their turn, dropping onto the roadside and coming back up in a matter of seconds. The truck is gaining with incredible speed. I can just about make out the words jubilation, recovery scrawled across the hood, though the letters are rapidly becoming easier to read. Blue Jay takes her time dismounting the road. In fact, she's almost casual in how she maneuvers, whittling away at the remaining seconds we have. A swell of anger wells up inside of me as her wheels hit the road again. If she's calm about the situation, then good for her, but I can see Ace drumming his fingers frenetically against the steering wheel, now stranded alone on the other side. I watch Blue Jay follow the rest of the convoy to the next turn, displaying none of the urgency anyone else has shown. Take it easy, Ace. You ain't built for this. Ace takes the corner, heeding Rob's plea for caution, but unwisely taking it almost head on. His front wheel thuds over the edge of the bank, and the chassis hits the tarmac. The drop is just a little too steep for the Porsche's clearance. Rob's warnings ring in my ears as Ace accelerates on three wheels, his car engaging in a slow turn with a little forward motion. Rob, what do I do? Rob! The pickup truck maintains its speed and aligns itself with Ace's Porsche, its thunderous velocity defying all logic, all concern for Ace's or their own safety. Get out of the car, Ace. Get out of the goddamn car. Ace struggles with his seatbelt, stress overpowering his motor function. He unclasps it and throws the belt to the side. He grabs the door and pushes. It swings open slightly, then immediately slams against the bark of the pine tree. For a moment that lasts all too long, he shares with me a look of pleading terror. The door is slammed shut, crumpling as the tow truck collides with the passenger side of Ace's car. Ace is launched against the door, his head smashing against the window. The ungodly racket of shrieking metal suddenly gives way to silence. Shit. Rob climbs into the back of the car. Rob, what can I do? Stay here. I hear Rob rummaging among the luggage as the tow truck reverses out of Ace's Porsche. Paces? The hood of the tow truck is completely and impossibly unharmed by the impact, as are its two occupants. I know, stupid Porsche. They park the truck side onto us, the hook hanging a few meters away from the back of the Porsche. The words jubilation recovery appear again, now accompanied by a slogan, here to help. Two men in white shirts and blue overalls climb out and wander over to the ruined Porsche. They barely seem to register the situation at all, casually chatting together as they throw open Ace's passenger side door. The stunned Ace looks like he's battling a concussion, only barely cognizant as he's pulled out of the car. He quickly grows more aware as the mechanics grab him by each arm, struggling against them as his captors talk amongst themselves. Let him go! When I turn around, Rob is stepping out of the Wrangler. Apparently, hidden within those neat stacks of luggage was a loaded hunting rifle. Rob raises the stock to his shoulder and repeats himself. Let him go! The mechanics pay no attention to Rob. They continue to frog march Ace over to the truck, one of them making a quiet joke to the other as they go. They laugh. An awful bang erupts beside me, and a deep red hole bursts from one of the mechanic's torso, blood slowly seeping out of the wound. Inexplicably, the mechanic does nothing more than look down at his wound, up at Rob, and then back to the matter at hand. He hardly breaks stride as he continues towards the truck, bleeding freely onto the floor. I hear Rob set about reloading the rifle. Am I to assume the other 800 people in Jubilation are other idiots driving Porsches and fucking up? Maybe not the other people, but definitely the things that they were eating, probably, I would say. Just saying. I mean, Acer Road. Ace. I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there. This is good writing. This is good fucking writing. All right. I hear Rob set about reloading the rifle. The mechanics arrive at the back of the truck with Ace. There are 2 short loops of thin chain hanging from the lowest of the hook's chain links. The mechanics feed Ace's arms through 1 loop each until he's hanging by the armpits in front of the hook itself. Rob fires another shot that goes nowhere. The mechanics grab a handful of Ace's hair, chatting as they do so, and lift Ace's head up until his lower jaw is just above the hook. In that moment, despite everything, despite all my journalistic ideals, my pursuit of truth, my duty as an observer, I close my eyes. The visual disappears into darkness, but the sound doesn't. The impact and the sorrowful, obstructed groan that follows penetrates my bones, reverberating throughout my very being. Another gunshot and the sharp twang of a metallic ricochet. Ace's cries continue as the engine starts up and carries him off back to Jubilation. I hear another gunshot that sounds like it hits nothing but air. As the engine and Ace's whimpers grow quieter, a few moments pass before one final measured gunshot echoes around the car. God damn it. God fucking damn it. The Wrangler's chassis clangs as Rob kicks the side with all his considerable might. I open my eyes to see a fallen pine tree, a ruined Porsche, and an otherwise empty road. When Rob climbs into the car, it's clear he's trying to regulate his breathing, an internalized rage lighting him up, barely under his control. We have to go. Rob turns us around, pointing the Wrangler back down the road. The quiet of the car echoes in my ears, along with other noises I can't hope to forget. I watch the fallen pine grow smaller in the rearview mirror, overwhelmed by a feeling that I'm leaving more behind on this road than I can currently imagine. Bereft of conversation, of logic, of any semblance of comfort, Rob and I do the only thing we can. We take the next left. And that's where I'm quitting tonight. It's 10:30 and my voice is giving out. But yeah, we lost our first person. Ace got taken, hooked onto the tow truck. Acer Road. I always thought that was just like a little bit of foreshadowing, because when you go back up, that's like the only road that's like fucked up in Jubilation. And the houses are similarly prestigious. However, there are no tables, no families. Every window is broken. Cars are abandoned on the road. One smashed into a splintered porch, and above every door there's this huge X in red paint, and outside of each house a small mound of clothes lie, as if like they've gone and taken these people out of these homes. And in my head, pork chop and like meatloaf, those look like those can be human things that have been made to like look like other food. So you think it's a pork chop, but it's like there are other films that have done this, and I'm not explaining it very well. But yes, Ace is dead. We've had our first death in the left-right game. I say first because it's not the last. But yeah, I'm gonna call it quits here. I think this has been fun. We did a little writing. We did a lot of reading. I'd love to do this again, maybe next weekend. It's a human chat. Yeah. So I'll let you guys know. I know that I need to do a patron exclusive stream, so that'll get in the works. I don't want to do left right game for that. Maybe some more writing. Maybe if I get writing done this week and I post a chapter, I can do a chapter read for just the patron exclusive, and we can like break that down and talk about that. We'll see if I have time for that. I don't know. Things have been crazy. Links for everything is always going to be in the description. I love you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, Ashley and Kiki, and everybody else who popped in. I don't think anybody else is here right now, but you two, you're my ride or dies. I love you. I'm going to go so that I can go to the bathroom. And yeah. Thank you, Kiki. I don't know. I like streaming. So like it's fun. As long as I can like find the time to do it. That's the thing. All right, both of you get some sleep when you get the chance. Particularly you, Kiki. I know it's late there. All right. Bye-bye.